Americans have loved the sport of football for over half a century. Many Americans tune in every Saturday from the beginning of the August season to the beginning of January to watch some good old-fashioned football. They cheer on their favorite college football team with much pride. Die-hard fans put all their heart into their team and feel the pain of losing, the thrill of winning, and the excitement of every moment. The college football season is one of the most exciting times of the year for sports fans. The school pride and the legacy of the historic schools make every minute of the college football season spectacular. In the beginning of the season, the top 25 teams are ranked according to many different variables. These variables dictate what schools are ranked, where they are ranked, if they even make the top 25 in the nation, which is difficult in itself. However, this system of ranking is known as the Bowl Championship Series, also known as the BCS. The top 25 teams are ranked in the BCS based on three things. First, they are ranked in the Harris Interactive Poll. Then the coaches vote on their top 25, and finally they generate a complicated computer formula that ranks them based on strength of schedule. Over the past few years, parity among Division I football teams has caused a question about whether they should stick with the BCS or adopt a playoff situation, because teams get snubbed out of the chance to play for a national championship every year. The playoff system would work like March Madness in college basketball, but not close to as many teams would make the playoffs. In the playoff situation, they would adopt an 8-team field. They would be split into two different brackets. The Bud Wilkinson bracket, which would consist of the Pac-10 teams, Mountain West, and Big 12, and Western Athletic Conference, would make up the West. The other bracket would be known as the Bear Bryant bracket, which would consist of the Southeastern Conference, Atlantic Coast Conference, the Big 10, and the Big East would make up the rest. The proposed bracket would see the teams 1 through 6, with the 4 power conferences receiving the top 4 spots. The last 2 spots would go to the wildcard teams with the highest strength of schedule. The playoff system would still use some of the ideas that the BCS uses, but would not rely on computer to rank teams. Also, it gives similar conferences an opportunity to compete with the big dogs. So would adopting a playoff system make the college football postseason better? The BCS was implemented during the 1998 season, after they changed from the Bowl Alliance. The point of the BCS is to figure out who will play in the first 5 bowl games that consist of the top 10 teams in the nation, including the top 2 teams that eventually play for the national championship. The BCS has had strengths that have been one of the main reasons the system has been able to stay around for as long as the BCS has. A strength of the BCS is that it creates multiple bowl games that give an opportunity for different sponsors to market the games and create money for college football to help fund scholarships and other things. According to the article, One Nation under the BCS, between TV rights fees and payouts by the bowls themselves, the 4 BCS games played in January 2006 generated $125 million in revenue. The BCS is a huge moneymaker for all the big-time college conferences because they get automatic bids into a championship bowl. The BCS uses a mathematical formula that gives most of the power teams a better chance at being the top teams in the nation. The Bowl Championship Series gives teams of the big conferences the opportunity to fight for a national championship every year because they schedule the toughest opponents, and the polls look at strength of schedule, which is a key factor to determine where they play. Playoffs have been implemented in almost every sports system in the whole entire world. From the World Cup to March Madness, most sports use a playoff postseason style to conclude a champion. Why should college football be any different? The college football playoff system would be very beneficial because it would give the smaller schools with the same amount of talent a chance to play the big schools and show they are worthy of contention. Also, it would diversify the recruiting process. Recruits generally choose what school they will attend based on how well the school is respected throughout college football. A playoff system would add parity to recruiting because incoming recruits will have the chance to see a variety of schools competing for a national championship. The playoff system will make the postseason games and regular season games more exciting because if they lose, then that could be the end of their chances at being crowned the best. And it would be a win or go home type of situation, which makes for the most intense game atmosphere. Finally, there would be no difference of opinion because all the best teams would have to play each other and beat one another to be able to say that they are the champion. The presented playoff system argues that there should be no computer usage in determining who will play for the national championship, but rather teams should decide their own destiny. Although the playoff system makes complete sense to most fans, it is not perfect. The BCS allows the majority of the power conferences to compete for the top spots because their schedules are usually much stronger than the smaller schools. In the past college football season, Florida was ranked number 1 in the nation. They went undefeated throughout the entire season and lost in the SEC championship game. They eventually dropped to number 5 in the nation. Take a team such as TCU, Texas Christian University. They went undefeated in the regular season as well, but when the seeding came out, they were ranked 4th and did not get the opportunity to play for the national championship. The BCS makes the importance of every game more crucial than if there was a playoff, because they would have to win them all to finish in the top 2. A playoff system would prolong the already long 13-week regular season by at least 3 weeks, which would hinder the student-athlete's studies and could possibly result in more injuries. The BCS is a good system for the big power conferences, but it will never give the little colleges a chance to compete because their schedules and records will never be equivalent to the big guys. A playoff system needs to be implemented into college football because it would clearly state who the national champion is and not leave it up to an opinion. Using a playoff system would take out the bias of the human vote and let the teams play it out in the field to see whom the best is. In the BCS right now, if a team loses 1 game, they may be out of contention for the national championship. If a school loses 2 games, they could be out of contention for one of the major BCS bowl games. For many people argue that losing 1 or 2 games in a season should not decide if you play for the top spot. Those people say that even the best teams have bad days. In conclusion, the debate for whether a college playoff is needed or to stay with the original BCS style will keep being argued among fans, coaches, and writers. The BCS has been proven to work time and time again, so there really is no need to change it. However, many people feel that at the end of the year there is no clear winner, because only the top 2 teams have a chance to play each other for the national championship. But what about the other 23 in the top 25? Thirdly, the Bowl Championship Series is a huge moneymaker because all the sponsors get different bowls, such as the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl, and create a huge profit. On the other hand, the playoff system could also be marketed very similar to the BCS Bowl. Franchises could sponsor each round of the playoffs, which creates even more marketing opportunities. The playoff system would bring tons of excitement to the game of college football and would crown a clear winner and allow the little schools, with the talent to play, participate and possibly win. The BCS makes every game count because 1 loss and you could be done. The playoff system gets rid of the potentially false determination of the national championship the computers deliver. Although both the BCS and the playoff systems have had many strengths and weaknesses, I feel that the BCS will stay for a little longer until they can change to a playoff style to implement the BCS and the playoff types. Also recently, in a Sports Illustrated article, they pleaded the same case that I did. They think that there should be a playoff too. Thank you.